All right.
Let's
start off.
Say we visited this before, but we're revisiting it for the start of a lineup of just private selects.
Maker's Mark. Let's see how different you can make everything.
So this one, just to show everyone the breakdown. 1 pure, 4 cuvee, 2 mocha, 3 spice. No 46.
So it's very caramely. Like, there's a lot of sweet flavors, but not a lot of spice in it whatsoever.
Right. You can tell that's the 46 not being there.
Yep, 46 and then there. And then I think the toasted French spice is a little low as well. I think there's something there's 3 of those?
3. There's 1 pure, but there's 4 mocha, and there is... there's 2. I have it wrong. There's 2 mocha, 4 cuvee.
Yeah, the cuvee is what comes through on this one, because the cuvee is supposed to be really sweet and add a little bit of decadence to it.
As well as add a little bit of viscosity.
Yeah. Like, there's... I want to say creme brulee, because it's like that, like, toasted sugar, but it's like a creamy toasted sugar. A little bit of cinnamon, a little bit of allspice. Like, there's that distinct Maker's Mark spice, but it's, like, not spicy. It's, like, the final garnish on, like, a pie or something. So it's, like, minuscule, but you know it's there. Not a whole lot of fruit.
No, not really. A little bit of the Maker's Mark cherry, but not much. More of the spice comes through.
A little bit at the end. Front end is all sweet. Like caramel, creme brulee. It's like a creamy sweet because there's not that like brown sugar.
Right. You get a little bit of the like notes of it, but nothing.
Right. And then like it morphs into a little bit of a drier, spicier bourbon. There's definitely like some like fresh wood taste to it too. I don't know if you got that, but like a fresh wood taste.
I was gonna say, like the way I was gonna describe it is it almost tasted grainy near the end.
Yeah, there's definitely a little bit of like doughiness and graininess at the end.
And almost like where it almost literally feels like there's a little bit of like a molassesy consistency almost near the end. There isn't, but it feels like there is.
I know what you mean now, yeah.
But I can't think of a better way to describe it other than it almost feels molassesy.
And then
it doesn't taste it at all.
Yeah.
It feels it.
And then on the back end, you get a little bit of that like cocoa powder bitterness from like the couple of mocha staves.
Yeah.
But like it's not nearly as prevalent as the like the fine wine and good spirits one we've talked about before.
2 mocha just sort of imparts a little bit on the. It seems like the mocha mostly comes out on the finish.
Yeah, like
and even then, when there's only a little bit of it, it's minuscule.
Yeah, like it's always like a roasted coffee or like cocoa powder, and if there's enough in there, you get cocoa nibs, which I like. It's like one of the few times I like bitterness in a whiskey is whenever it comes out like chocolate or dark cocoa.
Like a decadent bitterness.
Yes.
Not a spicy bitterness.
Not a spicy bitterness or a tannic bitterness.
Yeah.
Fuck you, Witter Jane.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
Yeah,
I think we're gonna see that these all are gonna taste so drastically different.
I think that it's hard to say for the first one because, like, you know, you're drinking a Maker's Mark Private Select, and this is a phenomenal whiskey, but there's not like much else to say about it other than that it's sweet up front with like the creme brulee, the like toasted sugar, the I guess caramel is like the other sugar because I don't get a lot of brown sugar in this.
Or almost like caramelized.
Yeah.
It doesn't taste like caramel straight up.
Oh yeah, that's what I mean with creme brulee.
Yeah.
And then like a little bit of wood in the middle, and then like the fit like towards the end of the middle is like the doughy, grainy spiciness.
Right.
And then the finish, you get like the dark chocolate after you finish like swallowing it. Yeah, it's definitely a level
of the ones I've tried just based off my memory. I think this one's my least favorite, and I still really like it. I would still buy this if I had the chance to buy it. So that also says something about the sort of the standard that we're going to likely see across all of these.
The thing I will say about this, though, is that the viscosity isn't like a thick, chewy viscosity. This is very oily.
Yes.
Like, it's really, like, you can swish it around. It feels like it's thinner than water, almost, which kind of works for this, I would say.
It does. Because, it doesn't have any super bold flavor to go with it. It has,
It has a lot of complexity and nuance to it. Like, even though, like, I'm saying, like, there's, like, only a handful of flavor profiles,
it's still...
it twists all of them and, like, bends all of them together.
Right. Alright, so this is I believe it's Pike's Liquor store pick.
This one's...
out of New York. 7 pure and 3 mocha, nothing else.
This smells hotter.
It does.
It smells very hot.
Although it goes away after the first initial sniff.
This is probably the least pronounced nose of one I've had.
I'd have to agree. Like, it's like very soft smells. Like, one of the ones that jumps out at me is pear. I smell a lot of pear.
I think that's coming from the pure.
Probably. A little bit of vanilla bean. Like, this smells all like sweet, but also vegetable. Like, it smells like there's a lot of like vegetableness on it, but not herbs, like fresh greens, I guess. A little bit of apple, not green apple, like.
They're very delicious.
I would say more golden delicious, because red delicious has that very distinct, like, almost sickly sweetness to it. This isn't as aggressive.
I get a little, it's almost reminiscent of, like, if you take the fruitiness is if you take the 2 strongest notes from Elijah Craig.
I don't know if I would agree with that.
Rest.
I don't know if I would
Because
agree.
I get pear and apple and lighter fruit a lot on Elijah Craig.
I get a lot of berries and stuff on Elijah
That's
Craig.
fair.
Like, I get like figs and dark fruit and then a lot of berries on Elijah Craig.
I'm sure just try this. 'Cause I don't
I
know.
guess so. I mean, cold brew coffee is another light smell I get now that I'm thinking about it.
Whoa.
Oh.
Okay. Doesn't have much nose, but wow, does that have a lot of different flavors going on here.
It's definitely a little hotter.
A little hotter, oakier.
Definitely
It's
oakier.
woody. It's like that woodiness where I almost think it's like dill, but it's not. It's like
Right.
it's like virgin oak, where it's not charred or anything like that.
Like, it's oh, the finish is very sweet.
It
The
is.
finish is super
It's
sweet.
a vanilla-y sweetness.
Vanilla,
Vanilla,
almost
A little bit of
creamy.
caramel.
Milk
Milk
chocolate. Like,
It's still got a little cocoa, but not super spicy.
I honestly don't get cocoa. I just get milk chocolate. Like, I don't get a lot of bitterness. I get some oak, but I don't get
I
like,
get it. Maybe,
cocoa.
maybe I get that more before the actual, like as it's transitioning to the finish. Yeah, I get it more early on. But I get so much milk chocolate on the finish.
Yeah, like the front end is spicy. Like, you definitely get like spices and spicy. Middle is a lot of caramel. I would say that there's definitely some oak throughout.
And the more I'm letting it air out, the more like as it sits and I sip on it, I'm getting less of that like pure oak kind of flavor to it. Where it's woody, but it's not like the very first sip of this tasted like virgin oak.
Right.
And like not much else until it transitioned. I don't get as much of that.
I gotta say, this is definitely the smartest idea for like a single barrel kind of release. Because like, if the cool thing about a single barrel is tasting the differences between different barrels.
And you can't get much more different than the fact that there's 1,000 combinations you can pick. 1,001, sorry.
Oak staves to throw in. So, yeah, no, this is without a doubt like.
And it's amazing that just throwing staves into the barrel makes such a difference.
It also goes to show how much the oak itself imparts on the flavor of a whiskey. Like,
Right.
mash bill definitely plays a part, but
I was going to say, the fact that they just add a little bit of a different type of wood in with that barrel, and it picks up so much different flavor from it, says a lot about how much wood affects it.
and not only that, but like they're only aging it on these staves for like an extra 6 to 8 weeks. So I mean, there's that too.
Right. You could drink wine-finished whiskeys that don't impart nearly this much flavor after longer.
Right.
Like, I'm
I'd
really
like to
curious. I'm really curious to see what they replace the mocha with. Like to see how it tastes. I mean,
I'd like to see how they're going to use the mocha because they said it was too popular and that's why they discontinued it.
yeah.
So I'd like to see what they plan on doing with it.
Which makes me happy that I think every single one of these has mocha in it
Yeah.
to some degree.
I think that my thoughts are is that they're going to release a new blend similar to 46. They're going to call it Maker's something else.
Like you said, maybe Maker's FM or something.
Yeah. So I don't think that we're going to see the mocha stapes go away forever because there was a lot of
there's going to be uproar if it never comes back.
yeah.
You
So,
can't take your most popular thing and get rid of it completely. They have to
Right.
have a plan for it. But this just goes to show that this is like how much we see different when they add something that isn't in this one.
right.
Like this was also a fairly light whiskey. It wasn't like the mouthfeel wasn't super.
This one,
forward.
yeah. This one is a significantly less oily and like
It's not lighter in flavor or proof, but it's a lighter whiskey in
Yes.
general.
and I gotta say, I
Lighter
think that
mouthfeel, softer finish.
I think what I have to say about the Jersey Bourbon and Yacht Club is that what I've tasted with it so far is that I would say it's not my least favorite, but it sets my expectations for what I would expect from
Right.
the Maker's Private Selects. Which, I'm not gonna lie, I think I like it better than this one.
I might agree. This one's also a very interesting idea. The other one's a blend of a bit of everything. This one, this is pretty deliberate.
Yes.
This isn't like they didn't think about this so theoretically. They're like, I know I want some mocha because it's gonna do this. Let's make the rest of this pure. Let's
Yeah.
go with it.
I would love to see what they would have done if they did like if they switched out the pure with Cuvée. I would love to see.
I'd love to see what happens if they switched out pure with any of the others, just
Right.
to see what 7 and 3 with 3 mocha does.
Honestly, I kind of want to see a 5 and 5 of a lot of these. Like I want to see like what 5. My ideal one that I want to try and see if I can find at some point, which I probably never will, but 5 mocha and 5 Cuvée. That's something that I want to see and try.
I'm sure it exists. I'm sure there's some rinky-dink store somewhere that picked it,
Probably.
and I would buy up their entire stock. To be quite honest, I'm
Well, here's
sure
the
I'd
thing.
enjoy it.
I'm sure I'd enjoy it, but I don't know if I would enjoy it to the point that I would want that much of it.
Well, I mean, I don't mean that literally.
Yeah.
But I would want to stock up on it.
I would probably buy 2.
Yeah, 2 or 3 for me, probably. But all right, so we're moving on to the Delaware store picks because this is Atlantic Liquors out of Rehoboth, and this is the second of 4 private selects that they have. This one is 1 Cuvée, 2 46, 4 Mocha, and 3 Spice.
Alright.
So I'm predicting very, very cinnamony, very coffee, chocolate, a little bit of Maker Spice.
I'm curious to see. Because I've been honestly kind of surprised at each of these that I've tried, so I can't even
Fair
make
enough.
a prediction anymore.
I've tried enough at this point where I'm starting to figure out what it's going to impart. It's just how much of what we're going
Right.
to witness. So
So, based on the smell, to me, like this comes across as probably the most Maker's product of the 3 we've tasted
you
so
get
far.
you get the cherry,
There's the cherry, there's the allspice,
brown sugar.
yeah, a little bit of brown sugar. Like this is probably the one that has like the most of like the core bourbon sense to it.
Right.
Not a whole lot of oak.
Not a whole lot of the other sweet notes we got from the other ones.
I get some like red berry. Like I don't
I
get
can
like
see that.
mixed berries.
It's
I
a
get
little
some
bit of
red
like
berries.
like
strawberry, raspberry,
I can see that.
like maybe not raspberry, maybe just strawberry.
I do get like strawberry.
I think it's just strawberry.
I don't get any raspberries. A darker berry. I'm not really getting too much of that.
Yeah, it's not tart and rich enough. Yeah, no, it's just strawberry that I'm getting.
A little creamy, but not nearly as much as the Jersey Bourbon and Yacht Club one came on fast.
I think that's the one thing I actually don't get on the nose is like vanilla or cream. I don't get a lot of cream on it.
I do get a little bit of it.
But yeah, this is probably the most like.
This is the most makers of the ones we've had for sure.
I don't want to say like it's more complex than the other two on the nose. Well, it's definitely more complex.
It is because we're getting well than the last one for sure.
Yeah, like
the last one was probably the least offensive nose of any that we've had.
I would say the first one was complex and like, but it was very dessert oriented. Like there was nothing but dessert flavors on it. This one is more like
same level of complexity, but it's more on the spicy side, more on the maker's side.
And I would say it's more variety too, because like you're getting fruit, you're getting spice, you're getting sweet, but it's not like this one's trying to be a dessert bourbon or like an oaky bourbon.
This like that. Tastes like this is just a spin on makers.
Right.
So.
Very sweet on the ooh, very sweet throughout.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that one's sweet.
Very sweet.
I still get no oak through the whole thing.
No oak at all.
You don't get any of that maker's cherry on the palate. Maybe a tiny bit, but it's not.
I would say that it's like kind of a mix between strawberry and cherry.
It doesn't come across as maker's cherry, but there's a little bit of a fruity sweetness.
Yeah, like if you were to puree strawberry and cherry together, and then like that's like just like a little addition to whatever is in it. That's how I would describe it, because it doesn't come across as your standard maker's cherry at all.
I get brown sugar throughout the whole thing. Except the finish is a little drier to me, but I think the finish is again more of that mocha and spice coming out. It's a little milk chocolate.
I get like some milk chocolate and like a little bit of vanilla on the finish.
But not like a vanilla cream. It's definitely like a vanilla bean.
Yeah.
Instead of milk, I get like a milk chocolate covered like espresso bean, because there's like
I can see that. Yes.
There's a little more bitterness to this than there was on the Jersey one.
Yeah, I was hesitant to say dark chocolate because it's not a dark chocolate flavor, but it has the bitterness of dark chocolate. So I think
it's got that like creamy milk chocolate taste to it, but like there's also that bitterness after the fact, which is why it made me think like
it's almost the mocha is coming out completely in the finish. That seems to be where most of mocha's influence is coming into these.
Mm-hmm.
It lends itself to actually let the finish transition into more decadent versus just sweet.
Yeah, because the front and middle, like the front almost immediately dissipates, because like it starts off a little like spicy and like a burst of sweetness, and then like the middle takes up a significant portion of time, where it's like caramel, brown sugar, the weird little bit of strawberry cherry mix.
Mm-hmm.
And then the finish turns into that like milk chocolate covered espresso bean with like some vanilla cream too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this is good.
This is really good.
This is my favorite of the three so far.
Agreed, I think. Again, this is very hard to pick because these have all been very different.
Oh, absolutely. They've all been very different.
But to my personal taste, I agree. This has been my favorite so far.
I think that the only reason why I might say the Jersey one a little bit more is that it had the least amount of heat.
Fair. Yes.
And it also had a little bit of a thicker body, which I liked.
That's fair. This had one cuvee. That is also excluding obviously the one that had no cuvee. The Jersey Bourbon and Yacht Club had what? Three? Yeah. You can feel it.
And like to me, like the body plays a part too, and like that's why I think I like that one a little bit better. Plus, I did like that it was very dessert oriented without really any fruit in any part of it.
Right.
It's not that I don't dislike fruit. I just really like dessert oriented bourbons, unless they're Buffalo Trace.
I will give them one exception, and that's the kosher wheat.
Well, that tastes like candy. That's not even like fruit. That's like straight up candy.
Fair enough. But
yeah, man.
Again, every one of these has been so different that that we could go back and compare. Oh yeah, this had none of this, but a lot of this.
And that's why I've been really looking forward to this since we suggested this idea like
Because now we had enough to do a whole lineup of just.
Yeah, but now we
these.
have so much. We're doing 2. We're doing like the limited releases. And,
Well,
like,
yeah, but I
special
mean, we have a whole
releases.
lineup of private selects.
Yes, and now we got so many private.
This is the
selects
best
and
way to get
split
into
up. Yes.
to get down into this is to try a bunch of different ones and see. This is the best way to learn how the different staves affect each one.
Yeah,
We're gonna. I think by the end we'll know exactly what each stave is going to typically do.
Yeah, because the unfortunate thing is the only way to truly know what each state does, you have to, like, basically get with Maker's Mark and say we want to buy a barrel, and then they give you, like, barrels of each specific stave. So, like, you get to taste what a barrel of each specific stave tasted like.
But then you have to come up with a blend.
And you also
see
have to
how
buy
they
a
work
barrel.
together. Yes.
And you also have to buy a barrel. So, like, that's the only way to get that experience is to, like, buy the barrel.
You're going into it, yeah.
Yeah. So for us, this is the best way to get an experience of each.
It's to
different
try
state.
everyone else's spending money.
Well, they're making.
Alright, so this is Atlantic Liquor's pick number 3. This one is 3 pure, 2 cuvee, 346, 1 mocha, and 1 spice.
I'm gonna think this is gonna be the spiciest of the 4.
This is
Probably.
spicy.
Probably. I mean, 346. It's going to be... I bet you're going to get a lot of the Maker's Cherry out of this one.
Yep.
This, literally, the nose is almost like a Maker's cask.
Yeah.
Like a regular Maker's cask.
It's
And
kind
a
of.
little bit more of some of the sweeter notes.
Yeah, there's more caramel for sure. Creamy, but not necessarily vanilla creamy. Cherry.
The cherry is what it's all kind of built around.
Yeah, for sure. Maybe a little bit of oak.
That would make sense from the pure.
Yeah.
That seems to come off more on the nose, or lack thereof in the case
Yeah.
of the New York one.
Yeah, the nose doesn't have as much spice as I was expecting, but let's see what
Yeah.
it.
But it has the
tastes
cherry,
like.
so I have
Yeah.
a feeling we're gonna taste it.
Very spicy.
Ooh.
Yeah, there's more spice throughout this one.
Ooh.
Sweet finish though.
Yeah, that's the one thing these have all had in common is they do have a sweeter finish.
This one.
Sweeter. Now, I mean, there can be some of like the bitterness, but like the coffee and
I think this one has the sweetest finish because it doesn't have the coffee or the chocolate.
right,
on it.
exactly.
This one is probably the
This
sweetest
is
finish.
this is proving my theory that the mocha is what makes mocha and the spice are what really make the finish on these.
Yeah, like this is actually really fucking creamy. Like
I know. This is. I would argue that of the ones we've had so far, this comes off as the most desserty because of the creaminess.
So it's really spicy on the front end. Ton of cinnamon.
Right.
Allspice.
You
The
still
cherry.
you get a little. Yeah, the cherry is much more pronounced in the nose, but it's still noticeable.
Yeah, the cherry is on the front end with the spices, and then the middle turns into more of that caramel.
And that's the only fruit note that's worth noting too. This is
Yeah.
the only fruit note you get in it is the Maker's cherry.
The middle is like caramel and cherry. So like front end spice, cinnamon, cherry. Middle's like oak, caramel, brown sugar. Then the finish,
This
the
is
finish
really creamy.
Yeah.
You were right.
The finish is like all vanilla cream and like maybe a little bit of coffee added to it. Like kind of if you were to like take ice cream and pour a little bit of coffee on top of it.
Yeah.
And then I get like a bit of a candiness on
I was gonna say
aftertaste,
it
too.
is almost like a dairy cream, not like vanilla kind of cream,
Yeah.
not a sweet creaminess. It's more just like a neutral
Yeah.
kind of. It's just a general creaminess, I guess
Yeah.
is the way to say it. Dairy cream's probably the best analogy, even though it doesn't really have any sort of like milky notes,
Yeah.
like milky dairy notes.
That or maybe sweet cream.
I could see that.
Yeah, sweet cream might be the best way to describe it. I think that for sure this has my...
Huh.
I really like this one.
I know. I'm having I want to say one's my favorite, but I don't think I'll be able to pick a favorite at the end of this because
I
this
won't
is-
either.
The problem is I like the front part of the Jersey one a lot better than this one.
Right.
But like cohesively, this one is a lot more complex between the spicy front end and the super sweet finish.
Mhm.
This one has 3 cuvee in it, right?
2 cuvee.
2 cuvee.
Three pure, 3 makers, and then 2 cuvee, 1 mocha, 1 spice.
Gotcha.
Huh. Again, this is like, you look at it and then you compare it to, say, our fine wine and spirits one we're going to get to. You wouldn't expect this drastic of a variation, with the numbers being seemingly not that different.
Right. Like,
but again, it's just proving that it makes a difference. You change one number and you get a completely different whiskey out of this.
That finish is so creamy and sweet.
I really do like it. Like, I really do like the dark chocolate notes of all of these whiskeys, but like, this finish is so creamy that I don't know.
Like, part of me misses it, and the other part of me has no issue with it not being here because it's different and it's still really good.
Like, it's like trying to pick between chocolate and vanilla ice cream. It's all about, like, basically what is it relative to? Because, like, I honestly can't pick between vanilla and chocolate. Chocolate cake is way better than vanilla cake. Vanilla ice cream is better than chocolate ice cream.
Yeah.
In my opinion. I feel like
I was going to say, I 100% agree. Especially with soft serve.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, that was what I was thinking of whenever you said it, but...
Yeah. Well, because if we're talking hard ice cream, I mean, it can kind of depend, because that's where all the interesting flavors tend to come in. But it's a little bit of a tangent, considering we're not talking about ice cream, unless Maker's Mark comes out with a bourbon
this
flavored
finish
ice
is so
cream.
creamy, and
It
like
is.
we've gotten chocolate vanilla on both of them, so like it's a decent enough
It's
analogy.
true.
Like, I can't pick between the two of which I like more. All I can say is this finish has definitely stood out to me relative to any other Maker's product.
For sure.
Like, this has more vanilla and more cream on it than even like the 2020 limited edition did.
Right, like
They were aiming for vanilla.
We're used to hunting after and liking the ones that have a ton of mocha. This is a very nice and pleasant change of pace from all the ones that have had more mocha influence.
Yeah, this is good.
I wish that this was not 7 hours away and I could go get more.
I might give you money for a bottle to bring one more back.
I was going to say, because I'm under the impression with the way they number these that they make the same picks every time, it's just different years. Because they have multiple different batches, so they do the same combination. You know what I mean?
I thought this had the same stave combination as the one, or a different stave combination than the one before.
Yeah, but they have batch 2, 3, and 4 like at the same time.
Oh.
They had all 3 in the store at the same time and sold them together. So I think that's saying like they have 4, like 1 through 4 different profiles that they consistently pick each year.
That's possible.
And that's a really cool idea, especially if you get one like this.
If you're a big enough store that you can do that, absolutely.
Atlantic Liquors is the second biggest in Delaware behind Total Wine. So it's like walking into a fucking warehouse. It's really gigantic. They had a separate rye section, so that says a lot. Their Scotch section was tiny, but their bourbon section was a fucking aisle the length of like that wall. Like it was like Chalet, like the length of Chalet's bourbon section.
Dude.
We need to get back to Chalet.
Privatize PA wine and spirits.
You say that, and then you'll get upcharged like you do at some of the other stores.
I might be okay with it at this point.
Yeah, as much as it fucking sucks, it's like the fact that we have set
like my
prices
job.
and we're never gonna pay.
What's that?
I said I like my job. Let me keep it. Don't privatize me.
Yeah,
It'll
but
never
what if
fucking-
you could start your own liquor store at that point?
With what money?
Alone? You're in the highest drinking state per capita of any state in the country.
True. Well, that's just Pennsylvania sucks.
Proud
So
of
we all hate
us.
life. Hell yeah!
I like Pittsburgh. Middle PA, yeah, Middle PA fucking blows. But Pittsburgh's fun.
Fuck Kentucky.
Let's hop in.
Yeah. So this is the last of the 3 that I have of the Atlantic Liquors batches. This one, again, at first glance, we thought it was the fine wine and spirits one, like the same pick, but no, this one prioritizes cuvee, has more 46. It has the least pure. Basically, they just took a pure and added it to cuvee. Otherwise, it's even down the board. So, get Maker's Cherry,
I get a lot of cream.
cream, brown
I get
sugar.
a lot of cream. A little bit of cherry.
The
brown
cuvee
sugar.
seems to be taking over the nose a little bit.
Yeah, it's
Along with the cherry is just such a strong note that it tends to shine through even when there's a little less of it. But it is very creamy.
I get a little bit of cherry. I mostly get cream, and I feel like the cream accentuates the cherry a little bit. I feel like this
Agreed.
cherry isn't that strong on this note.
It's almost like instead of like the traditional Maker's Cherry, it almost reminds me of like this is going to be a weird description because I don't know why this food lends itself to being described to these Maker's picks, but it reminds me of the icing of a cherry Pop-Tart.
Maybe a little bit.
I can see where you're going with that.
And this isn't the only one that I've used a Pop-Tart to describe the flavor profile of one of these, which is really interesting. Because I was going to say, I always describe the new Fine Wine and Good Spirits one as a brown sugar cinnamon Pop-Tart in a bottle.
Which it
You
is.
see, now that you say it, I get it, but I still get a ton of like sweet cream separate from
Oh
the
yeah,
cherry.
I'm trying to describe the cherry. There's
Yeah,
still creaminess of it. But the cherry reminds me of like the cherry icing where there's the creaminess, like you
Yeah.
said, accentuates it. And it becomes more of a sweeter cherry.
Yeah. I would definitely agree with that.
It's almost more of the sweet wheat kind of cherry versus Maker's Cherry.
Yeah. And then it smells...
It started as Maker's Cherry, but it definitely, as
Yeah.
it sort of mingled, I lose some of that. Or it changes a bit, rather.
Yeah. Like, it's definitely very creamy. And then I get some spice, too. Like, it smells a little hot. Like, the ethanol in this one actually burns my nose a little bit relative to the other
I
two
think
guys.
I think it's just because there isn't anything to necessarily overpower the fact that it uses two of the French spice.
Probably, yeah. Because, I mean, like...
Because it's not anything that's characteristic with the mocha. I've noticed that most of that influence comes in on the finish. The cuvee mostly affects the nose and the mouthfeel.
Yeah.
The pure adds oakiness and adds like that sort of more woody, spicy kind of flavor.
Yep.
And the 46 adds the traditional cherry and bourbon notes. But let's see how it tastes.
Not creamy at all in the taste.
No.
Ton of cherry. Oak. Caramel and brown sugar. Like, brown sugar is like actually a really heavy hitter in this one.
Huh.
A little bit of spice on the front, but it dissipates as it goes through.
I still get a bit of like a bitter note. I can't place right off the bat whether it's like cocoa or whether it's like a cocoa powder or whether it's like a coffee.
I'd say cold brew coffee because it's there, but it's not intense. And cold brew coffee doesn't have an intense bitterness.
This is true. Yeah. I think I can place it as that.
Like, it's missing the richness of black coffee, but it has like the roasty bitterness of black coffee,
Yes.
which is lighter compared to any other coffee drink.
Right. This is, again, so different than the last four we've done.
It's very different. I feel like this is the most forgettable of all of them, though.
I might have to agree.
Because
I think it's the most it's not my least favorite of these, but I think it's the most forgettable because it's down the middle.
It doesn't have a whole lot of distinction to it.
Right. It's not like, I mean, the New York one had a lot of distinction to it. It wasn't my favorite. I liked it less than this one.
Yeah.
But it was very memorable. I could describe to you right now how that tasted. And I could do that with all the other ones. This one, yeah, I can agree that I would go back and be like, yeah, it tasted like a Maker's Private Select. I couldn't pick like, oh, that one was super light, or oh, that one was a caramel bomb, or oh, that one was this or that. I can't pick one for this.
I think I gotta say it's my least favorite just because of how indistinct it is.
That's fair. Yes, I think I can. I don't want to say that I necessarily agree, but I 100% see where you're coming from. And
Yeah.
It makes complete sense.
Although I will say, I do really like the nose of this one.
Yes.
The taste
The
of
nose
it,
is what puts it slightly above that New York one for me. Because that New York one's still, I think, my least favorite.
right.
Again,
I would have
keeping in mind, everybody, that when I say least favorite, my least favorite of these, I'd still go back and buy again.
Yeah, for sure.
So, when I say least favorite, that's not a knock on it.
It's relative.
This is a tough, tight competition here. So
It's all relative right
that too,
now.
because these have all been easily comparable quality. It's just they all appeal to different tastes.
And all of them, I would still have been happy that I spent the 70, 60, 70, 80 bucks on whatever it is.
For sure.
Like,
None of these seem regrettable to me. At all.
not at all.
I don't know that I'll ever find one that feels regrettable.
Makers knows what they're doing. And again, because it's all the same whiskey, they're picking the best barrels for these private selects.
Right.
Like, the least preferred barrels are going into, like, their standard 90 proof. Slightly better bottles are going towards, or slightly better barrels.
The 101.
The 101, maybe. Because they don't make a whole lot of 101, so they don't have to, like, up the quality that much.
True.
They may actually still just be using the lowest quality barrels and just leaving the proof a little bit higher.
I can see that.
And then they're selecting better barrels for the cast strength, obviously.
Right.
Some of the best barrels for the limited releases. And then, like,
The cream of the crop for these.
I wouldn't say necessarily the cream of the crop, but like the 70 to 90th percentile for sure.
Makes you wonder what they're doing with the top couple percent.
I think they're saving those for like some of like the private selects of people they know very well.
Fair enough. Yeah.
Like that, or
But either when I say cream of the crop, I guess I'm talking like the best that they're gonna put out for the masses.
For a single barrel, yeah.
Yes.
So.
But this is again, these are all so different.
I would say honestly, now that I'm thinking about it, I actually think their best barrels might be going into the cast strength, the standard cast strength.
It's possible.
Because I mean, if you're tasting the best barrel, you don't want to adulterate it with these staves.
Right.
And
Good
that's
point.
what I'm thinking
Good
about
point.
with that.
Good point. All right, so now we're moving back to PA, and we're going with we've done this one a long time ago, but our palates have changed, and now we're comparing it to a bunch of others. This is, we think, early 2020, Fine Wine and Good Spirits Private Select, and this is...
All we know is that it's the first one that Fine Wine and Good Spirits put out.
Right. And it is 3 pure, 2 cuvee, 0 makers, 4 French mocha, and 1 French spice.
To date, this has been my favorite to memory, and I'm really excited to see how this stacks up.
Sweet. Very sweet.
Really sweet. A lot of brown sugar.
That seems to be a trend in the Fine Wine and Good Spirits ones from the ones I've had.
A lot of brown sugar, cinnamon.
Yes.
Like baking cinnamon, not like cinnamon candies.
Right. It adds a level of spice to it, not
Yeah.
a level of sweetness.
A little bit of oak, and I'm not getting cherry on this one.
Not at all. But again, there's also no 46 in this, so that's almost to be expected. To be
Right.
honest.
Maybe a little bit of creme brulee as like that little bit of caramelness to it.
Because it's not straight up caramel.
Yeah. Yeah, no, this is a complex nose for sure, and it's also the deepest and the richest of all of them.
I can agree. Yeah. I also got fucked up on this.
Ton of dark flavors throughout. Like this is probably the darkest of all of them.
I would say the richest of them.
So like front end, oak and brown sugar. Middle it turns into like a creme brulee, milk chocolate. What taste it again? Yeah, creme brulee, milk chocolate, brown sugar still. Brown sugar dominates the middle and the front and the middle.
Yes. The finish is
Dark cocoa, like cocoa nibs, and then like a little bit of vanilla cream to like sweeten it out a little bit. But yeah, this one is the darkest and the richest for sure. Like ton
Agreed.
of dark coffee, dark brown sugar, dark oak. The bitterness does come in with like the cocoa nibs. Yeah, this one's still my favorite. This one is still without a doubt my favorite.
I still think. I liked.
I think the Atlantic 3 is the only one that like.
I think I actually like the 3 more than this, just by a bit.
I mean, the thing that I really like about the 3 is that it's that creamy. It is a very creamy, creamy on the palate, I should say.
I was gonna say I liked 2 and 3 from these a lot.
2 was complex, but it had too much of the fruit that I wasn't looking for. Like
That's fair. Yeah.
this one is very much a dessert, like a dark dessert.
Right. And I also, I like a bit of everything. I'm a sucker for when it has fruitiness as well.
Yeah.
I'm a sucker for when you get a little bit of everything and it works well together, which it did work very well together.
Right.
It just has to be what you want.
Right.
I will refrain my judgment until the very end when we attempt to pick which one was our favorite. Although I think for you it'll be the easiest. I think for me and Ryan it'll be a little bit more of a conversation.
I mean, I still gotta see. I don't know. I don't remember how the other Fine Wine and Good Spirits stacks up relative to those. I know for a fact I don't like it as much as this one. So the only one that is going to be up in the air is this Rob Samuels pick.
Right. But yeah, because at the end we could try to pick favorite, least favorite. We're not going to be able to pick best or worst because there isn't a best or worst.
Yeah, this is.
They all are. I would call them all equal quality of different tastes.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's how it's been so far. None of these. I don't taste one and think, oh, this other one was better. I think, oh, I like this one more.
Mm-hmm.
But this is, knowing your taste, I definitely see why this is still your favorite.
I mean, I'm that motherfucker that drinks black coffee and fucking.
I drink black coffee too.
I was saying same. You're
And
not,
the only,
not
like-
weird flex.
Drinking whiskey has made me drink black coffee.
Fair enough.
I know for some people, they already had the taste, or it was the other way around.
Oh, I've been drinking black coffee for like 7 years.
I haven't been.
Yeah, like I drank black coffee in high school.
Yeah, I same.
It just.
I would just drink it with a little bit of cream and sugar, nothing too crazy.
I mean, like one of the things I like to do with coffee, like affogato, is fantastic. Just take a hot espresso shot and dump it on a scoop of ice cream.
Fair enough.
Ooh.
So.
Oh, so good.
But. Like, I mean,
See,
I really like dark rich flavors.
For me, when it comes to coffee, I'm one of the suckers that went into liking cold brew because I have my cold brew thing.
Cold
and
brew is also fantastic, though. That's the thing.
And I'll cold brew with a Colombian blend. Is my shit. I just stocked up on Colombian for my Keurig because I just bought these refillable, like the reusable cups that I put my own grounds in. And back to the whiskey for a second. I promise it relates because this is again we're talking a lot of rich flavors and this is the richest flavor of all of them.
Yeah, what I just meant like because of that, like I mean my sweet tooth of choice kind of thing is like brownies.
Mm-hmm.
Like I only eat dark chocolate anymore. I don't like milk chocolate. It's too sweet. I think at the end the only exception really is vanilla ice cream.
Yeah.
Because it's just iconic.
Don't call it a comeback, it's been here the whole time. And now the other Fine Wine and Good Spirits pick, this one being the end of last year, but it wasn't released until, March of this year.
Yeah, it was like March.
So yeah, this one is pretty similar in terms of, to a couple of the others in the sense that it's almost even across the board, they just switch a number.
Right.
They take away a 46 and add a mocha, which I think is going to greatly improve this over the one that took away a pure and added a cuvee.
Yes, I agree.
So, brown sugar.
Yep, brown sugar, cinnamon.
This is the one that I describe as a brown sugar cinnamon Pop-Tart in a bottle.
And it's still there even after all of these. That note is still there because it does have a little bit of a doughiness still too.
Mm-hmm. Like a pastry dough.
Yep.
Not like a young doughiness, not like bready,
Yeah, it's not
But
like
it's
a
like
young craft
it's like
whiskey,
it's like
but
a nice sweet pastry note.
Like this still holds through all of those notes we had before whenever I tasted it last. It's
For sure.
It still smells really good. Sweet.
Brown sugar through the whole thing.
Brown sugar throughout the entire thing. I get a
It's
little
in
bit
the
of...
it's in the finish too.
Yep.
This is the first one where the brown sugar's lasted the entire way through.
This one is also probably tied for the second most rich that we've had tonight.
Agreed.
Like,
What would you say? This one and 3 from the Atlanta Quickers for richest?
no, because that
Or
one
no,
was
no,
super
sorry,
creamy. I would say Jersey.
Oh, okay, yeah, I get you.
I would say Jersey was probably the second richest.
I would then say 2 from Atlanta Quickers was after that, followed by
Yeah.
3.
Whenever I say rich, I usually mean like it tastes thicker, it has darker
Right.
flavors. Like the thing that the reason I didn't say Atlantic too is because it did have the fruity notes.
Right.
But
It had rich notes to it, but
Yes.
it wasn't all rich notes like
Right.
these ones are.
So, brown sugar for sure. Baking spice in the middle. Yeah, the front end I actually get like the cinnamon, brown sugar and dough that you get on the nose on the front end. And then it turns into more spice and cinnamon in the middle.
And the finish is it's cocoa-y.
I get
Or chocolate.
I get some chocolate. So, believe it or not, there was actually a cinnamon chocolate Pop-Tart that was released that this reminds me of. Ironically enough.
All right.
Every whiskey can be compared to a Pop-Tart. Changed my mind.
No, this one in particular is just Pop-Tart whiskey.
Yeah,
This is Pop-Tart whiskey.
This is literally the beginning is one Pop-Tart, the end is another, and we're not joking or exaggerating. It is literally the notes to this. It's not like that sugary sweet, but it's the flavors.
Yeah, like the front end, you still get like the cinnamon, brown sugar, and dough. The middle, it turns a little bit spicier and like. There's another note in there, like the chocolate note, and then it morphs into like the cinnamon chocolate churro Pop-Tart that I had like a month ago. That wasn't bad either. It's like a very odd how it like. This is literally just Pop-Tart whiskey. It's weird to think about, but this is Pop-Tart whiskey.
It's interesting too that it seems like whoever does the picks for Fine Wine and Good Spirits, their palate lines up a lot with ours.
Yeah, Fine Wine and Good Spirits, like, they do a good job with picks. They really do a good job with picks. Which is why I'm still pissed that I missed out on that fucking
Russell's.
The Russell's Reserve single barrel. I'm really upset about that.
Yeah.
Nobody fucking knew. It was on a Tuesday in the morning.
On a Tuesday. Let me go.
No.
Going?
I'm not going up on a Tuesday. I'm going down because I'm sad. Because guess who didn't get Russell's Reserve?
Oh, you said you're going down.
down.
And then earlier, brown sugar, we're going
No,
down.
more like Blink-182's down, where it's sad and depressing.
I was thinking down by 311, where it's just kind of white boy rap.
I was thinking Down by Jay Sean, where it's a little bit more like auto-tune rap.
Okay, so we covered all the bases for the song Down. What else is there that we're missing?
Something medical, probably.
Down syndrome? Are you suggesting I have Down syndrome?
No, of course not.
What about like a down comforter?
Ducks, everybody.
I want to go.
Alright, so now the last one is a pint. And this is from the Generations of Proof 3-pack pint set that was only available at some wholesale places like Costco and in Kentucky. And this is a private select picked by Rob Samuels, the grandson of the founder of Makers. And this is a 2019, so this could be one of the, if not the first private select that has been picked. And so, our breakdown is 2 cuvee, 4 mocha, 4 spice. No pure, no 46.
So,
This has the most distinct nose to me out of all of these.
you know what this reminds me of? Rum. The nose reminds me of rum. Like burnt.
It's almost like a molassesy kind of sweetness. Honestly.
Molasses and burnt sugar are the two biggest notes on this, which is why I say it reminds me of rum.
Huh. Can't spell Rob Sanders without rum.
I'm getting a little.
It's actually true.
Yeah. Can't argue with that.
Wow. This is the most distinct nose out of all of these.
After blowing off a little bit of like the stuff that's just evaporating, does bring out a little bit more sweetness and a little more like bourbon-y brown sugar.
Mm-hmm. This nose is like almost all sweet.
Yeah, it's definitely very sweet. Rum-like, brown sugar, burnt sugar, maple.
I am getting, yeah, I am.
There's no fruity notes. There's a little bit of oak, Oh, there's definitely pipe tobacco. Now that I'm thinking about it, there's definitely pipe tobacco in this too. I don't know if either of you guys smoke a pipe, but this reminds me of
I can see it.
Aromatic pipe tobacco.
Yeah, I can see it.
Very sweet. Actually pretty woody. There's like a good bit of a woody note in the middle. The finish definitely has that chocolate espresso bean.
And it is, again, one of the more pronounced ones, behind maybe the Private Select, the first fine wine of its spirits Private Select.
And I'm not sure if it's because we're drinking like a fresh pop neck pour, because I do think that whenever you first open a bottle, it tastes different than it will in a month.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a lot of richness to this that is different than the richness of some of the other ones.
Agreed. It's a lot of the other, it is very heavy on the chocolate coffee notes.
Even in the middle of the body, there's a lot of like milk chocolate and I want to say cold brew coffee.
Mm-hmm.
Like, honestly, the only thing that makes me know that this is like open new is that it's a little bit hotter than the rest of them. But the flavor tastes like similar to the rest of them in that like the flavor level is just right, but there's definitely some extra ethanol on. Like,
right. And so I think that's something we should neglect in our comparison, because again, this is the only neck pour we're comparing to a bunch of already open bottles.
But I mean, to say that like I can pick out the fact that some of the heat is from the alcohol, but like the rest of the flavor is right on point, I think is really good for it. Because a lot of neck pours in a lot of whiskeys, I feel like they can take away from a lot of the flavors. Like,
and this one, it doesn't overpower any flavor.
Yeah, like I'll say Knob Creek 12 as an example. I love Knob Creek; it's my favorite whiskey. The neck pour on it, I was not enthused about it, and it's my favorite whiskey after opening it for a month. So keep that in mind too. But the thing I'll say about this, by the way, for listeners, the neck pour is not the whiskey in the neck of the bottle. The neck pour is literally just the first pour from the bottle. Because
it is literally just, it has had the least time to interact with the air around it and to, basically it is as it was put in the bottle and as it was first opened up.
And I mean, my personal take on it is that after you let it open and let it sit, you pour out some of the whiskey, that allows it to breathe, and it takes out some of the initial like alcohol that evaporated off. But letting it open up and mingle with the air in it, it allows like the whiskey to come with it comes in a proper equilibrium with the empty space in the bottle, so that you get the right flavors from it without getting as much of an alcohol burn, because the whiskey basically wants to be at where it wants to be at within equilibrium of the bottle.
And it's also worth noting that if you pop open a bottle and drink the whole thing in a night, you drink the neck pour the entire time.
Yes.
Like, if you drink the whole bottle in the first night you open it, that's all the neck pour. If you have 2 ounces of it, it sits for 3 months. That just those 2 ounces were the neck pour. The rest of it is as air had time to mingle with it and as it had time to change. Because
there is a lot of contention in the whiskey industry about the neck pour. A lot of people will say that no, it's the exact same whiskey throughout, which technically sure, but the first pour you take out of a bottle, there is a distinct imbalance of ethanol with whiskey. After it's had time to breathe and come into equilibrium, and aromatics have evaporated off, like flavors have like mingled properly with air so that equilibrium is made, it's a better whiskey typically. There's a handful of exceptions where it gets worse. Maker's Mark 101. But for the most part, it allows a whiskey to open up the same way a wine will open up. Well, I can't say the same way a wine will open up. Because oxidation happens with wine. Whiskey doesn't have oxidation.
Right.
And I'm not going to get into that because that's a whole scientific ordeal that doesn't need to happen right now.
Right. But, so, what's your verdict in general on this particular one?
I think the flavor is really good.
I think it's worth revisiting just to confirm that.
Yes, I would like to revisit it. In comparison with something else, like not necessarily this entire lineup, but something.
Right. We could compare. I would compare it to one of the other richer ones, like either the Fine Wine and Good Spirits one. Well, your Fine Wine and Good Spirits one.
I'd be fine with that.
Just to compare it with a richer.
I think either the Fine Wine and Good Spirits picks would be good. I think the Jersey Club would be good, and I think the Atlantic number 2 would be good.
2, yes.
But
as long as you compare it with something that has a similar flavor profile going on.
Yeah. But that being said, I still really like this. The mocha comes through tremendously.
This is the first one that I tried where the mocha comes through more than just the finish.
And there's
for the most part.
There's still a ton of cinnamon on the front and the middle. I really do like this. And like that's even saying with the neck pour, I really do like this. Although the neck pour of the other 3 that I've had, I've also really liked. So again, makers, you're doing a great job. The only disappointment I have with you is 101. Yes. It still has a place on my shelf, but it's my warm-up for other makers.
It's your pre-gaming bottle.
It is my warm-up for drinking other makers' products.
Alright, so we're going to quick go around and kind of pick our top 3 out of the 8 that we had tonight.
Do you want to also name like a least favorite as well?
Yeah, we can do a least favorite.
Yeah, we could do a least favorite. Again, keeping in mind, as I've said before, least favorite does not mean bad by any means. Because again,
I have enjoyed all of these thoroughly.
Yes. This has convinced me. These are all drastically different picks. I don't think there can be a bad one of these picks.
There's not a single bottle on here that you would regret buying.
Exactly.
Not a single one.
And there's a lot of variation between all of these.
For sure.
So that is definitely worth noting, and especially if there's a private select at your local store, buy it. You will if you like anything we described from any of these, you'll not be disappointed.
They're all very similar. Like Maker's Mark really knows how to nail getting the brown sugar, sweetness, spice, and like if you want whiskey with a little bit of a kick, Maker's just has a signature kick to it that these all have. They're sweet whiskeys. They have all the true bourbon notes between vanilla, oak, brown sugar, a little bit of fruit. Typically it's just cherry, but we've seen some variation tonight.
And depending on what the state profiles are, after seeing some of this and seeing what differences lead to or difference in taste, you can then see if your local store pick has a bunch of mocha, you know you're going to get a more sort of rich, especially finish to it. And you can look at that and look at how these all stacked up and have a general idea of what sort of flavor profile you're going to get from whatever pick you found.
So, on to our top 3s. Max?
Alright, so my top 3, actually I think think mine has to be. This is gonna be a bold take. Atlantic 4, number 3.
Okay.
As my third favorite. The second Fine Wine and Good Spirits one, the late 2021, as my second favorite. And I can't believe I'm saying this. I like the Rob Samuels a lot.
Understandable.
I think I have to put that number 1 for the time being. But I love just how full body that was the entire way through, how rich the flavors were from start to finish. Even in the nose was all the rich flavors that we were getting all throughout. And even with that little bit of ethanol heat, again, that comes from it being neck pour.
Right.
You got it all, and that just tells me that when it comes to that equilibrium you were talking about, it's just gonna be amplified even a little bit more. So yeah, I think my top 3 from 3 to 1 is Atlantic 4, October 2020 Fine Wine and Good Spirits, and Rob Samuels.
Ryan?
Mine are very similar to Max's. I think my number 3 is going to be Atlantic number 2.
Okay.
That one was the really mocha heavy Atlantic liquors. Then Fine Wine Good Spirits October 2020, and I was also going to say that Rob Samuels is my favorite. I know Max said that was a bold take, but I fucking agree with him. The complexity.
I think what we're seeing here is where our tastes start to line up and where we agree and where we differ with each other a little bit too. Because Logan's making faces like his is not going to be exactly the same.
Yeah, I'm going in a very different direction.
Yeah, because I think that the boldness and the richness that you get out of that Rob Samuels pick is just delicious, and it's.
I'm mad that that's the only one I have as a pint.
Right?
I don't agree with that statement.
Yeah, I would love to have more of that.
I would rather have, for example, we'll get into which one I'd rather have as a pint. That's what picking our worst one will be. Which one would you rather this be a pint? Instead of a fifth?
Yeah.
Instead of this Rob Samuels.
Yeah, so I'm going to go in a very different direction. I would have to say that my number 3 is the Atlantic number 3.
Okay.
I loved how creamy it was and how the finish was all like sweet cream with a little bit of like something to it. I mean, I'm personally a fan of sweet dessert like whiskeys, and like that was very much like of that alley.
Right.
I gotta say the Fine Wine and Good Spirits, like the new one, the October 2020, because of how dessert like it is between like Pop-Tart and Pop-Tart. But for real though, like it's doughy, it's desserty, it's sweet, chocolatey, cinnamon, vanilla, cream, minimal cream, but still like it's in there with the icing part of like a Pop-Tart that I really enjoyed it, and I forgot how much I enjoyed it. My number 1 is still my Fine Wine and Good Spirits from early 2020. I love rich, decadent flavors, and that's nothing but like, chocolate cake, cinnamon, cocoa nibs, black coffee, or cold brew coffee. Like, it's all those dark, rich flavors that I absolutely love. But I will give an honorable mention to the Rob Samuels pick, because
that's your number 4 is what you're saying, most likely.
I don't know where to place it, but like I have to give recognition to how good it is. And I do want to come back to see what it tastes like after it's aired out for like a month. Because I think that airing it out is going to do a lot of wonders whenever that ethanol is dissipated off. Because that's, without a doubt, a concentration of chocolate, cinnamon.
Again, it was probably the richest overall that we've tried.
Yeah, it was very much like, if I would describe the richness of it, it's like a triple chocolate cake of like chocolate cake, chocolate icing, and then chocolate syrup and chocolate chips. Like it's not all chocolate, but I'm just talking about how
chocolate milk while you're
eating. Like it's just that decadent relative to the rest of them. I won't say that like chocolate's the only note in it, because it's not. It's just that's how decadent it is relative to everything else. And another honorable mention is the Jersey Bourbon Yacht Club, just because it does have like that body to it that none of the other ones seem to replicate.
Right.
And Yeah, I just don't know.
Just give an honorable mention to all of them because they're all really good.
No, I can't give an honorable mention to all of them. Those are my top 3. I have to note those 2 things with those 2 whiskeys. Right. And do you want me to just start with what my least favorite was? My least favorite, even though it stood out, was the New York pick with the 7
pure and 3 mocha.
Yeah, the 7 baked American pure and the 3 mocha. It was very different. It was very vegetal.
It is one where, again, because
That's what I was going to say.
that's what I think. All right, so it's the consensus among the 3 of us, and I believe that that's not because of the quality of it. That's because that requires a particular taste to really enjoy to a point where we enjoyed some of these other ones.
And again, this is just relative because I would still enjoy that bottle, and if I spent $40 on a pint of it, $70 on a fifth of it, I still wouldn't be disappointed.
Right.
It's just relative to the 8 other whiskeys we had, I can easily say that was my least favorite.
Agreed. I think we're all on the same page there, for sure.
Yeah, definitely not a disappointing bottle, but just definitely an obvious lesser one out of all of these.
Yeah, it's not a bad bottle.
Again, to our personal taste, because someone's gonna taste that and be like, "Oh, this is my favorite of all 8."
Because, I mean, the thing is the closest thing I can think of to compare it to is like Four Roses Small Batch Select, where Small Batch Select has a lot of greenery and floral and herbs to it. But this isn't herbal. This
it had notes that weren't reminiscent of a maker's product.
Right.
Which was interesting.
Whenever I say vegetal, think like the freshness of like sugar snap peas or green beans celery. And not in a bad way. It's just like it had a fresh vegetal note to it that
which became very clear that was the pure that caused that.
Yeah.
Because
it's not the fucking mocha.
But I mean, I don't think it was the fact that there was a lack of something else.
No.
I think it was just that there was that much pure that there was nothing to cover up that.
Yeah, there was just too much of the American pure in it, and again,
to our taste, of course.
Yeah. Again, it's not bad.
It makes me wonder if someone made one of these where it was 10 of the pure, if it would be more reminiscent of almost like a Four Roses-y type product versus a traditional maker's product.
I would think that if you blended a single barrel of Maker's Mark and a single barrel, like all of these words are fucking mishmashes. If you were to blend a single barrel of Maker's Mark and a single barrel of Four Roses, that's probably what you would get with a Maker's Mark with 10 staves of American Pure.
I can see that. So, yeah, I mean, I will say, so I guess the last question I want to ask, which one surprised you the most?
Surprised me the most?
I think mine was the Atlantic number 3. Surprised me the most. I was not expecting it to be that creamy at all.
I would agree with that sentiment. I think
because looking at the stave picks for the Rob Samuels, I expected it to be something more up my alley. So I was surprised by how much I ended up liking it, but it wasn't like the most surprising to me because again I did not expect that out of the Atlantic 3 at all.
You see, on one hand, I want to say the Atlantic 3 because it had that creaminess to it, but at the same time, I expect sweet flavors from Maker's Mark.
Right.
I think that the New York pick is what threw me off because that vegetal note was not what I expected at all.
And
I think that's the reason.
I think the Atlantic 3, that, and the Rob Samuels would be my 3 that surprised me the most.
I think the Rob Samuels was a very pleasant surprise.
Right. Surprise isn't good or bad. In fact, I think these were all good surprises. It's just, again, the New York one wasn't as much to our taste as the other one.
Yeah, and that's why I think it surprised me, because I did not... Of all the things, like, that I expected to not like, I expected one of these to be too spicy or too hot.
And instead it was one having a note that was just not...
Not within anything that Maker's Mark has ever made. Like,
it was an interesting way for it to be out there.
Yes. But, to top it off, again, I need to reiterate this because I'm not going to say a bad thing about any of these bottles, is that you cannot be disappointed with any bottle that we just tasted tonight. Not
Right.
one was disappointing, and not one was not
If
worth
someone gave me that New York pick, I'd be ecstatic. I would drink the whole thing. Like,
Yes.
Absolutely.
in a heartbeat.
You could go and buy it on. You can buy any of these blindly and be happy you spent the money blindly.
Exactly. And that's worth finishing on, is that, as we expected, all of these were good.
And I don't think there's a single other brand where you can go in buying something blindly and not have to worry
And
about it
never
not
be
being worth the
disappointed
money.
by it.
Yeah. This
I don't think I've had that happen with any other brand.
The only one I can think of is Knob Creek, and the only reason I say
think that's
Knob,
for you in particular.
it might be for me in particular, and the only reason I can say that is because Maker's Mark did have one product that disappointed me.
Okay.
You gotta
You
stop
and your
with this
fucking-
No, I will not
Yeah,
stop
yeah.
with that.
You.
I will not stop because I fucking love the neck pour of it, and then the bottle became a hot mess. Maker's 101. I gotta say it.
He's banned from all future tasting.